All right. Let me see if I make this slightly bigger. Hey everybody. So glad to be here with you on Thursday night. Gonna do some market review for tomorrow, Friday. So the first thing we want to look at. Actually, the first thing is as always, this is just something that I want to do for myself first and foremost, but hopefully this can help some other people too as you try to recount price action from the previous day. So I try to record the days that I can trade so that I can look back at it, but you can too. And I try to keep the hourly, 15 and 5 minute. I know there's going to be some people that want to see the 1 minute, that want to see the 15 second, 10 second, 5 second, lower time frames, but I think the market review combined with the hourly, 15 and 5 minute are going to be sufficient enough for a user or a new trader to really think about how and what are the key areas throughout the day. Once you get further along, you can always drop down into the 1 minute and lower if you really, really, really want to get the best entry, but this is all you really need. So and this is something that I myself am trying to train myself more on as well, to be more disciplined with this, because being undisciplined has cost me a few performance accounts, unfortunately. So I'm trying not to do that again. So wish me luck there. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So actually, let me remove the webcam so we can maximize screen. You don't need to see my face. Okay, there we go. Okay, so first and foremost, the Forex Factory, we see the economic calendar for tomorrow. We've got 8:30 a.m. Very important, highly volatile non-farm employment change. We typically see a large spike in one direction and a takeout of the other direction, and then some directional flow in the draw of liquidity, or as you know, this particular week we've gone up quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Friday. So in addition to that, we do have a 10 a.m. ISM manufacturing PMI, so you might have some 10 a.m. silver bullets to look for, 9:45 a.m. during the opening range. And then I wouldn't be trading too much towards the afternoon. There might be a late end of day run, or it could just fizzle out. So we're watching, at the very least in the morning, you watch these times, and if you're trading futures, pay very close attention to those. All right, so let's go here. Just trying to tackle a couple of things on the side there. Okay, so, all right, let's make sure that this is it. So we know, actually, you know what? Let's bring this up to the weekly so we can get a little bit higher time frame sense of what is going on here. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more so we can see what's going on. So as you can see, this is the last bit of August here. And I don't know why this one says September. Might just be the candle itself, but we can see that this candle, and at the end of today, it should start another one for the weekly. So we see that we went to this weekly minus order block, or bearish order block. That's what we've been anticipating. That's what price drew up to and into even. And it started to reject a little bit. So what do we have left today? So either tomorrow it could go take the rest of this daily SIBI, and we'll get down to the daily to look at that. There's not really much else on the weekly. There is this consequent encroachment of that wick, which has already been traded to. So we do see that there are some relative equal highs on the weekly that it could run for. Rejection block here as well that we could run for. So we've got that annotated already. And below where price is right now, we have really just not much. I mean, this candle is going to close here, so where this begins, it will create a temporary imbalance area to the downside, a BISI where there was only buy side. So there might be some breakdown there. There could be a trade down once it attacks some of these other time frame, higher time frame, and some of those higher time frame objectives with the daily. So we'll look down at the daily next, but I don't see anything else on the weekly that we really need to go deep in for the end of this week. So let's go down to the daily now. Okay, so same kind of chart, just on the daily site, on the daily time frame here. So we see here that price has gone up this whole week. This is the new week opening gap. We opened, went down a tiny bit, and then have skyrocketed up. So where did we attack? We attacked this premium daily SIBI, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, and we only got, I mean, when it first went into it, it went a quarter and dropped down. This time we went straight to that side as well, so there's buy side liquidity atop above this. My guess is tomorrow we are going to take that and then some. So we will see. We'll see what happens on that, and you can also see up above we've got a volume imbalance on the daily, and actually that's on the monthly. Now there's a monthly SIBI low there. There is a volume imbalance here. I think I meant to have this on the daily, so I probably messed that one up just a little bit here. Let's make sure that volume imbalance is working there. So as you can see, on the highest time frame level, I pay attention to these levels first. So there's a premium SIBI low and a high here on the monthly, and that medium or 1 month low is also within a volume imbalance area here. If you don't know these terms that I'm talking about, you need to go check out Inner Circle Trader. All the training that needs to be done is on his channel. Again, I'm not going to train people yet. I want to do this for my own edification, and if it helps some others, great. But I may train people in the future, but not right now. So this is just going to be for me. So we see that it's possible for us to have some relative equal highs there that we might take out tomorrow. Do a run on buy side liquidity. No doubt that this week has also risen quite some distance, right? So what I want to do is get a sense of, hey, where could the Friday price go to and then retrace to? So it's possible it just, takes this just a little bit and then retraces to that 15483.70. This is kind of like 20% of the way. It's possible that it rides up to the consequent encroachment of this one, which would be 15,502, and it's possible it just takes that out, 15,451, or if it for some reason fills the entire SIBI here and rejects it, it'll come back down to the 15,575. So this is a dynamic thing right now. I'm paying attention to it because it's a Friday trade. We've gone up a lot, so I anticipate there being some level of retracement at some point. But I'm gonna remove it for now and just get you a sense of like what I'm looking for there. So that's on the upside. There was a daily minus order block here that we've traded to and through. We actually traded to it and then through it and then back down below. So we actually rejected it. Now, I think that there's a little bit of room left to the upside, but it's very possible that it will come back down. And what do we have on the daily over here? Zoom in on, let's make this a little bit taller. It'll be easier to see. So you can see here, we've got a volume imbalance immediately below here on the daily. Another one here, a fair value gap. And further below that, an even bigger fair value gap right here. So let's go update these open, high, low closes. So I'm gonna put this one right here. Oops. Oh man, I have to fix that. Close was 15,538, 550. Okay. Yep, let's go there. Close, or rather the open here was 15,513.75. Oops. And then close is somewhere, or the low is somewhere in 15,460. So these are important levels to look at from the previous, and the reason why I say that is, so the previous day, open, high, low, and close. Or maybe it's better to say open, low, high, and then close on a bullish day. What happened with this one here? So we had an open, it went lower all the way to this consequent encroachment. It went higher all the way to this, almost hit it, but did not take that 1 hour premium SIBI low and short-term high there, buy side liquidity. So it came down from there and closed right around here. So still moving upwards. You can see this day has started already, so they're tracking this last day. And so far it has opened, gone lower, and is creeping higher as well. So daily, there are a couple of small things here. Typically we see during non-farm payroll, we see a sizable 20-30 handles go super quick. People are going to get stopped out on that very easily. They're going to get tricked, and they're going to get kind of just perplexed, and the real move is going to move after all that's done. So if you don't want to get tripped out, just stay away from the non-farm payroll itself. Don't trade before it, and look to see what kind of imbalances remain and where the draw is going afterwards, and you can go from there. All right, so I'm not gonna mark. Let me see if I want to mark these volume imbalances. I think I'm gonna mark these just so that I have them on my calendar or my chart here. Okay, a daily imbalance here. Daily volume imbalance down here too. And fair value gaps. Let's make this a buy side. So we know that those are there. I'm gonna need to take out some of these annotations on the lower time frame in order for us to look a little bit more clean, but yeah, I will do that following this. So previous day's open is 15,513. Oh, .75. Previous day's close is 15,538.50. Previous day high is 15,606.75. And the previous day low. Okay. Don't know what I did with that, but we will just say previous day's low is 15,460. All right. That should say low. Okay. And I actually want to remove the London sell side liquidity that's on the hourly now. There's a brown marker that I'm taking off so we can see some of these things a little bit easier on lower time frames. Okay, so with that 15,450, we're gonna move that all the way to Friday at 4 o'clock p.m. So I basically just drove this out to the right so that it closes at 4 p.m. on Friday. I want to make sure that that's a key level. It might just burn through that too, don't know. But it is worthwhile having that there. And likewise, I'm going to put these there as well so that I know where price might reach to. Let's see. This is a low of 15,361.50. And that should go to 4 p.m. on September 1st. And I'm just making sure all these brown lines get there. Okay, so those brown lines, we'll see those in a minute when I drop down to the hourly, but I was marking a few of the short-term lows, which could serve as buy-side, sell-side liquidity, if it can get all the way down there. So remember, there's this daily BISI. Actually, there's this volume imbalance, this wick consequent encroachment, this BISI, this volume imbalance, this wick consequent encroachment. So there's a lot of stuff to the downside that could just get slammed through if things are bearish at all. But as you can see, we've had a lower high, lower low, higher high, higher low, higher high. It would be feasible to assume that we are going into a higher low area back on the daily. So something that we're looking at right now Actually, let me go to the 1440 minute just because it's a little bit cleaner data. I'll load 600 days. Same chart, just a little bit different on the numerics there. I think this smooths some of these things out as well. So as you can see here, there's no volume imbalance, so I can actually remove this. It's not faking me out. Same with this one, I can keep this here, but gonna make it less noticeable. With this one, you can see that the volume imbalances aren't nearly as prevalent. And again, a little bit more data here, but we can see that this BISI is still here. So what I want to do is mark this is already marked as the previous day's low, but it's also the BISI high. So 15,460, previous day low, and BISI high. It's a daily BISI. Bottom of this, 15,430.50. Let's make sure we have that labeled as well. Forget what that was actually, 15,430.50. That is a one day BISI low. Okay. Yep, and then we have the larger BISI that's down here. Now I will keep this here. I will mark it just so that we have it, just in case there's a massive, like super big drop down. I'll keep it here. One day BISI low is 15,126.5. So it was actually this one. This BISI low is here. Got it already. And there's a daily order block mean threshold. So we don't, if we are bullish at all, halfway through this candle is this 15,116.75 bullish order block on the daily. So we don't want it to trade further lower than that. We take a look at the Fibonacci to get a sense of where that 50% mark is. Equilibrium is going to be just above it within that fair value gap that's up there. And I guarantee you when we look into lower time frames, it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be also, there's going to be some sort of a imbalance there that we can maybe target. So for now, I'll leave it off. Okay, so on the daily, I do think it's going to reach into this. I do think that it'll potentially do a spike up and spike down, maybe a spike down and spike up. We want to take a look at the past few days worth of short-term lows, which we have annotated here, and see what kind of targets on the upside we might reach for too. So with that, let's go down to the hourly. Nothing else on the daily within this range that it could reach for. No point in really charting much lower than that for the time being. So let's go down to 60. Actually, let's go to a 4 hour for the time being. All right, so here's a 4 hour chart. You can see that there's another volume imbalance, or actually a liquidity gap in the 4 hour here. And then we also, on the 4 hour, we can see we've traded down, had a massive spike up, higher, higher, uh, lower high, lower low, higher low, lower, higher high, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low, but still relatively equal, like still high, higher high, and now we're potentially either headed up further or headed down. So let's see which way the market goes. If we see a downward motion in Asia and London, if it's not anything aside from taking stops, then we might actually go higher. So we're right in the middle though, so there's lots of targets to the downside, lots of targets to the upside. What makes this low probability right this moment is that it could go for either one. You want to wait for it to take this sell side and then give you a indication that it will come back down. That's what I'm going to be looking for the trade tomorrow. So yeah, I mean, 4 hours still supporting upwards motion. There's only been like one really main drive, so it could continue upwards for sure. But yeah, we've got those monthly and weekly rejection blocks as well, so we should be able to play with those a little bit as we move. I don't think it's going to hit this one up here, but there is that civvy high as well. Let's go down the hourly. All right. So lots of imbalances here. Lots and lots of targets that have been left open here. Those are pretty obvious ones here. Obvious ones here. And then all this liquidity that hasn't been touched yet. So there's some sell side liquidity here, sell side here, sell side here. That for sure, there's a good chance that we could take those out. Now granted, that's a solid, like, you know, these are in 50-point increments at this point in time. So it's not like NFP moves that much, plus or minus 20, 30 handles. It feels like a lot at the time, but it's actually not. The moves afterwards are typically bigger on NASDAQ. But yeah, so far so good. 1, 2, 3. I mean, somebody might look at that and see that's kind of a 3 drives, or they might just say like 1, 2, and then maybe there's a third one, and then that drops. So, you know, that seems to be what my eye keeps on going to, is a little bit upwards, you know, take out some of that buy side liquidity and then traverse downwards and go from there. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm going to be looking for. I've got my hourly targets here, my daily targets here, the imbalances there as well, and then the weekly and monthly major targets that I'm looking at. So keep in mind, on the weekly side, we have still just rejected a weekly premium order block. We could still reject it, honestly. If we see a good solid market structure shift, then it's possible we could you know, shift to start turning downwards if we take all these premium buy side targets, I guess. So on the hourly, you know, same deal. I still see these relative equal highs there. The same higher time frame targets become my lower time frame targets. And there's you know, if we get past that and keep on going, then there's this short-term high, this liquidity gap, very powerful, or liquidity void rather. And then if it hits that, it could just reject, since it's at a premium civvy low, or it could take the weekly rejection block and take that and come lower. So I don't know if it's got enough juice to go that far. That's a good solid 300 points there, so it would take a pretty sizable move. I think what's more reasonable is getting up into this and then maybe going south a little bit. Okay, so let's look at the 15-minute and see what happened here. And let's take a look at, let's actually take a look at, let me grab a different screen here. Duplicate window. And let's pull this guy over here. I'm going to get rid of this one for now. And let's get rid of chart trader as well so you can see the whole screen. Okay, so you can see that this is where your week started on the 15-minute. Here. And you can see we went down, opened, went up, went down a little bit, bounced around that new week opening gap, rejected, and then had that nice Tuesday run, Wednesday chop, Thursday run up a little bit. So what's left? Well, let's take a look. On the downside, you know, on the higher time frames, there's a lot of stuff down here, lots and lots and lots of stuff. Anticipate that those could be very valid targets if it were to go down. And then you can kind of see on the 15-minute now, you kind of see what's happened today. So we started the day, we went up, we kind of started to get a few shorts in, but we didn't make a lower low. We made a higher low, and in this trend, what we ended up seeing is that once it took out that liquidity, it made a entry for people to start going long, and this was a magnificent trade up. I had only been targeting the weekly minus or negative bearish order block, but I had also seen that if it continued past that, the daily order block, and then of course eventually the hourly SIBI low. Those were all things that we were looking into, and they hit. So there's still some of that SIBI we want to hit. If nothing happens on Asia and London, then there's a pretty much high probability that it's going to want to briefly spike above these relative equal highs here, or it's going to want to spike down and hit some of these. I have a feeling it wants to go up first and then slam through this, and this, and then there's that new week opening gap that's running through here as well. But who knows? You know, maybe it wants to end up. Maybe it wants to hit the upside, hit the downside, and then get everybody shaken out, and then really rally forward to the top. It's possible. Given that we've gone up so much this week, at some point in the day, there's going to be a high formed. It's going to be a short-term high, and there's going to be no coming back from it. It's going to retrace, and it's going to be it for that day. We can see on today's chart, let's look at today specifically. So on today's chart specifically, we see Asia went down first, up, created a short-term high. You know, people shorted that, rejection block here, shorted that, started to come back up here. And when we go down into lower time frames, you'll see that their fractal is there. In the 15-minute, all you see is this order block and mean threshold of this order block being respected here. So that one was a little tougher to see on the 15-minute. And then of course here you've got a propulsion block, moves up, comes back down to it, and then rockets it, just like we would expect. So it was cool seeing that. After that happened, you know, it continues down, takes out this fair value gap, this BISI, and, you know, bullish order block here. It goes straight to exactly that BISI low, which is insane. You'll see this better on the 5-minute, but this ends up continuing upwards here, making relative equal highs, and then closing out the day a little bit lower. Let's go down to the 5-minute. Now this was one of the most fascinating ones today, the 5-minute chart. I thought it was one of the best. So let's take a look why. All right, so here is the day. I'll give you a little bit of rope here so we can see some. So here's the day here. If we are planning on going up still, what do we have to do? We have to start lower and make way for those buys to happen. Now, it's very possible if you're awake in London that you could have taken this up, but had you not heeded these warnings here that it was about to drop, then you would have gotten stopped out. But here specifically, we see that there's a respect of this buyback right there, that buyback level. There's respect here. There's no displacement here just yet, but there is displacement on this 6 o'clock leg. And I think that's important because while this is on a 5-minute, you could go down to lower time frames and you're not going to have a spread of, what is this, 15.476 to a high of 15.47. So you're not going to have to open up your spread to like 10 points like you would here. Now, if you entered on the mean threshold of it, or rather the consequent encroachment of that SIBI, fine. That's exactly what you can start aiming for in these situations. So once you did that, it would be off to the races. You could have taken profit and aimed for Asia high, which is exactly what it did. It went to Asia high, rejected, came back down to a couple of these BISIs, and then continued. Same way with in the afternoon, right? So what happens in the afternoon? It's a run on morning stops. So where are morning stops? There's some here. There's an imbalance here. If it was really strong, it will go down. It will go down to here, but it did not. Remember, each of these was showing strength in that it was only creating a higher low in trend on a Thursday expansion, right? So that's what you want to see. You want to be able to take those, and I'm so glad I saw that. The rest of the day, it kind of just made a big chop here. You could still trade that, but it would have been difficult because you're right in the middle. The end of day macro at 350 just served to drop everything to a reasonable midpoint, and that's where it left it. Let's go down to the 1-minute chart, just so you can see some of the things in action here from the day. So if you recall, in the morning, we saw that there's a movement down, a couple of jukes up to entice early bullish folks, and then they wanted to just lay waste to them here. This was an interesting one because it got down to a previous, I think it was a previous pool. I'm trying to see if there's other charts that, yeah, it doesn't look like it. So it looks like it stopped there and actually took this out once more, but this time, this, you can't really consider this to be much of a displacement. It doesn't really displace this short-term high very much. So there's not a true market structure shift. Yes, this does go higher, but eventually it continues back down to that exact same spot, and then we see market movement, and we see institutional order flow, right? So when we see this thing goes up, comes back down, mean threshold, or sorry, consequent encroachment of that BISI allows us another entry, which jettisons up, and away, and that is at 7 o'clock in the morning. So the entry, you might have still been able to if you're very quick in your entry, and your bullish bias, you want to find things that are below equilibrium, and that certainly counts. Okay, So beyond that, I think there's not much else here. You see these higher time frame BISIs that are there. You're not gonna see a lot of other items there, mostly because they're a little too lower time frame. I mean, you don't need to see everything on there, but you do need to pay attention to that higher time frame, like that 5 minute one, and then you can use the 1 minute to enter. For example, on these, before you saw this spike, you saw this drop down, and then you see a little bit of nudge there, right? A little bit of nudge there, and then it drops all the way back down to there. So you can use the 1 minute here. You can see it creates a high there, and it overcomes the short-term high. We can set a limit order right there at 15,470, and that's at the bottom. That's actually the bottom of this. It's a good solid entry from a fair value app, and I think this drops in during 7 o'clock, and then it goes off to the races. So these lower time frames can help for entry, but that's all they should really do, because you're going to get faked out on these all the time. Okay. I think that's it. I mean, same thesis across all fractals. So we'll see. Oh, let me come back on camera. So same fractal across a few different time frames. I think they're going to go up to go down. I could be wrong. You could just keep on going up, but I will monitor a few key levels there that we mapped out earlier. I'll have them on my charts, and I'll look for those specifically to see if there's any major indication of a reversal at that time. So with that, I think I've got my plan for tomorrow. Non-farm payroll, very interesting, very, very interesting time. It typically goes plus or minus 20 to 30 handles. So if you're trying to gamble, make sure your entry limit orders are within that range, and make sure you have a nice tight, not too tight, but a nice 5 handles or so stop loss, because they could just rake straight through your order if it's not the first one there. So be wary of that, and good luck trading tomorrow. I will still stream this here, the hourly. Actually, this is supposed to be an hourly now. So I will still stream this where I see the hourly. I see kind of like the big picture draws on the hourly, and kind of like use it there as a template for me to really focus down and say, hey, okay, I'm looking for longs. What are the sell side liquidities that need to potentially get taken before I can take a long? So there's a whole bunch of them. So you just need to monitor what happens in the morning before, and then see if you want to trade it or not. I would not recommend trading it before you are ready, though. So with that, thank you so much for listening in. My pre-market prep is not as clean as others. I realize that. I will try to shorten it up and prepare ahead of time. I think that the videos, I appreciate ICT because he's already prepared ahead of time, so I'm going to try and do the same thing too, and have what I'm thinking prepared on the charts so that you can see them as well. So with that, I'm going to close down and go drink some water. So good luck, everybody. Again, I will be on tomorrow streaming price action from the morning until the end of the day. So come join and check it out. Leave me a message if I can improve in some way. Definitely let me know. If I can help in a better way, help explain different topics, let me know in the comments. I know nobody's probably watching this anyways, but it's still fun to imagine in the future when I do reach that goal. So with that, I am going to close up. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Good luck trading tomorrow.